of the 3 ordinances issued by the central government was intended to destroy the mandi system prevalent in Punjab and Haryana. It was aimed at facilitating purchase by the corporates of agricultural produces directly from the farmers. To achieve this, the mandi system in which the farmers have participation and control would need to be destroyed. The ordinance was justified by the spokespersons of the government, explaining that the farmers would be free to sell their produces anywhere in the country. The farmer leaders, however, had the insight to realize that abolition of the mandi system will make them helpless and they would gradually become slaves to the corporates. The second ordinance was to replace the existing pattern of farming with contract farming, in which large corporates would get the farmers to grow what the corporates want by making contract between the farmer and the corporate. The farmer leaders realized that contract farming would destroy not only the independence of the farmers, but also their very existence. They were familiar with the examples of several countries in which contract farming is implemented by law. The third ordinance was to amend the Essential Commodities Act 1955. This statute is in existence since 1955. It was enacted in the wisdom of the Parliament to prevent hoarding and black marketing so that availability of produces will not be at risk and the prices will be under control. This statute ensures the efficient running of the public distribution system. The farmer leaders knew that the proposed amendment would endanger the public distribution system and the corporates would be allowed to monopolize the market very soon. The former 2 ordinances had immediate and direct impact in Punjab and Haryana. The farmer leaders in those states, therefore, responded swiftly. They initiated widespread discussion among the farmers and also started peaceful agitation at a local level demanding withdrawal of the ordinances. The peaceful agitation did not evoke favourable response from the central government. The Prime Minister Modi and his government chose to ignore the peaceful agitation. The farmers then resorted to blocking of road and rail traffic as a second stage of agitation. Even that did not succeed in moving the central government. On the other hand, the then agricultural minister explained that the ordinances are for the good of the farmers and that a section of the farmer leaders opposed them because they did not understand the purpose of the laws. He added that the farmer leaders were not intelligent enough to understand the laws. This attitude and approach of the government and the Prime Minister offended the self-esteem of the farmer leaders. Naturally, they changed the strategy and called for taking control of the toll booths established by the central government. The call was received with enthusiasm by the farmers. They took control of the toll booths and compelled the authorities to discontinue toll collection. The farmer leaders resorted to this sort of agitation to convey a message to the central government and the Prime Minister that the farmers are capable of questioning the authority of even the central government. Yet, Modi and the government were not moved. It seemed that he stood firm without even trying to initiate dialogue with the farmers. At this point in time, the farmer leaders realized that the real source of the courage that Modi was showing was not his own willpower and not even the power of the BJP or the RSS. They gathered that Modi was committed to the corporate monopolies who support him financially and otherwise. They also realized that unless those corporate monopolies were seriously affected, Modi would not be moved. Immediately thereafter, the farmer leaders altered their strategy. They declared Adani and Ambani as the symbols of corporate monopolies and suggested to the farmers that the general public must boycott the products and services of those two. The farmers and the general public responded to the call vigorously. They not only boycotted the products and services of Adani and Ambani, but also caused them to close their establishments in Punjab and Haryana. In Haryana, the farmers declared a boycott against the BJP leaders also. The BJP leaders, including the Chief Minister of Haryana, were not allowed to attend any public functions. This, of course, led to conflicts and sometimes collisions also in many places throughout Haryana. Even this type of agitation did not deter Modi. Instead, he continued to accuse the farmer leaders and went sure to declare that no power on earth was capable of persuading him to withdraw the ordinances. While so, the Parliament's sitting was due in September 2020. When the Parliament met in September, the ordinances were replaced by laws passed by the Parliament. The bills were rushed through in both the houses of the Parliament. No discussion was allowed on the floor of the Parliament. They were passed by voice votes. The opposition's voice was crushed, and their request to refer the bills to the Select Committee was turned down. The passing of the bills in the Parliament, defying all parliamentary norms and denying opportunity for free and fair discussion, was denounced nationally as well as globally. The international media reported that democracy in India is getting eroded. It rated Indian democracy low based on internationally accepted norms of democracy. The course adopted by Prime Minister Modi and his government led to the farmers' struggle, which became a milestone in the history of Indian democracy.
I have a letter with me, written on the 17th of March by Robert Menendez. It is addressed to the U.S. Defense Secretary. Mr. Menendez is a Democratic senator from New Jersey. Many of you may not have heard of his name, but he is an influential figure in U.S. politics. He is also highly controversial, and we'll discuss that in a bit. But first, let's talk about the letter. Mr. Menendez has written, and I quote, "Dear Secretary Austin, I write ahead of your trip to India to urge you to raise democracy and human rights concerns in your discussions with the Indian government." He then goes on to say that the Indian government's ongoing crackdown on farmers peacefully protesting new farming laws and corresponding intimidation of journalists and government critics only underscores the deteriorating situation of democracy in India.